Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Swimrun 101. This time we're talking all about swimrun travel, how to get from where you live to where the race is with all your gear and all the goodness. Let's jump right in. Welcome to the Low Tide Boys, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode
183
of the show. Welcome to another edition of our ad hoc Swimrun 101 series. This one is all about swimrun travel. We joke that one of the best things about swimrun is that you don't have to travel with a bike. And while that is indeed a lovely feature of the sport, getting you and your gear to your swimrun destination is its own unique puzzle and something that we get asked a lot of questions about. So in this episode, we'll break down everything you need to know to get to your race. And I think that most people will be...
With all your gear.
With all your gear. Yeah, very important with all your gear. And I think most people might find these intuitive, but we just want to make sure that, hey, we've done a lot of traveling to races at this point, and I think we definitely have developed best practices.
And we've made mistakes.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to save you all from some mistakes as well.
For sure. So we've broken down this episode in basically like a bunch of tips. So let's just start at the top, which is enjoy the fact that you can travel light, but don't travel too light. Now, swimruns can take place in really random locations. You might not have access to all the local sources for fueling or gear that maybe you would have been able to just in a pinch go to the store, get some goos or something like that. So you really want to make sure that you're at least taking care of whatever you're going to need for race day and have it on you
a few days before, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point to note is when. Let's just say in comparison to a triathlon, usually triathlons are kind of in more city centers where there's going to be your REI, your sports basement, or insert your local outdoor retailer here. That's usually not the case with swimruns that we found. Yes, it does happen, but there's not really that opportunity like Chris said, oh shit, I forgot my gels. I need to go to the store real quick and pick up a couple gels. So you want to make sure you kind of have everything with you. And also don't forget, too, that these are usually in really cool, unique locations. So I know Chris and I really love to get out and explore a few days before or after the race. So, bring some stuff that you can do some other things besides all the swim running you're going to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to be forced to be walking around in your swimrun wetsuit, though. Well, maybe you want to. But
it'd be hot.
Who knows?
Anyway.
All right, so our second tip is create a checklist, and you really need to trust us on this. There's so many little pieces to the swimrun kit where it's like Chipper and I, before we're getting on our planes to travel to races, we're like, hey, did you remember this? Do you remember the tether?
Yeah.
Do you remember and all this stuff, because it happens more often than you think when you're just like throwing everything in a bag. So you just want to make sure you have a checklist and you follow it, and obviously you know what needs to be on that checklist, so we're not going to, go over all that here, but just making sure that you're not forgetting anything that's going to be very crucial for you having a successful experience is important.
Yes, and it also connects up with point one, because swimrun equipment is not very accessible normally at stores, and you usually, maybe REI is not going to have a Keel Plus there for you to take home, but maybe one day that would be cool.
That'd be crazy. Our third tip is, if you have more than one, you should bring more than one wetsuit. Now, They don't take up a lot of space. And yes, it's kind of a diva thing to have bring a ton of wetsuits. But, in our opinion, if you can have options, it's good. Water temperatures can change, air temps can change. So at the very least, bring your arm sleeves if you have them, because you just never know what's going to happen. But if you do have like a sort of a thinner suit and a thicker suit, I mean, they just take up so little space. I think we routinely travel with 2 wetsuits to races at this point.
Yeah, I would say for sure. I mean, that's usually because we're obsessively checking both the air temps and the water temps, and like waffling between, should we bring the Uto or should we bring the Orno X or the Vig, or what should we do? And because they roll up, like they're basically the size of a t-shirt or maybe a smaller sweatshirt or something, you could bring a couple if you got a couple. But yeah, like Chris mentioned, arm sleeves is going to be good. And bring stuff to make you either warmer in the water or things that will help you keep you cooler. So if you have just one wetsuit, it might be a little bit chilly, maybe pack your neoprene cap or bring your accessories to handle the variable temperatures.
Yeah, I've certainly packed arm sleeves for a race and just never pulled them out of the back pocket.
You've raced with them in your back pocket the whole race.
Yeah.
Yeah. but you can. It's
Probably
a
could have
better
saved,
safe
like,
than sorry
5
situation.
seconds on our time. I didn't have all that
Really?
extra
I don't know.
drag.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know.
I was feeling a toe back there, so that makes sense.
This is one I think that Chipper has a lot of experience on,
Yes.
which is have a plan for traveling with your hydration and fueling, because if you're going to put, well, Chipper, tell us about your experience traveling with, 90 gram
So
jumbo gels.
I'm a big fan of the Precision Fuel and Hydration, the jumbo gels, and they're definitely over the TSA limits or guidelines that they have. So, obviously, if you check your bag, it's a not an issue, but that obviously comes with additional cost, and then you're also risking that not making it to your final destination in a timely manner. So there is, if you have there's a card you can get online through TSA's website, and you're able to claim that this fuel is helpful for you, and whatever you want to put on that is your own business. But there's a card, you put it in a gallon Ziploc where the TSA agent can see what it is. I mean, I've literally brought 10 of these when we went to Sweden, and no one looked at me. I just follow the protocol of what they say. You say how to travel with a medical exemption on over the weight limit, the 4 ounces or whatever, and that will do it.
Yeah, and if they ask you, just tell them that you don't want to suffer from bronchitis.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to bonk out on the archipelago in Sweden.
Definitely don't want to do that.
But also, this is another good tip to have a plan. I mean, I've been on the bad end of this with traveling. You're very much thrown out of your routine, right? You normally drink 4 glasses of water a day or whatever. Have a plan. Get your, if you're on the Precision Fuel and Hydration bandwagon like Chris and I, we have our little preloads that we have before a flight. Just make sure you're kind of keeping up on your nutrition, because the worst thing that you could do is going into the race have a big deficit in maybe your sodium levels or anything like that. So just keep topped up. Get your Cliff Bars and all your snacks to have on the plane. And
I would say like a little secret bonus tip is if you buy your hydration in bulk, don't just bring it in a plastic baggie, just like where it looks like just a ton of cocaine or something. Keep it in its original packaging, even if it means buying a new one so that it's nice and sealed. That'll help you get through if you're a scratch person or something. Because last thing you don't want to have to explain that to anyone.
Yeah, what's this quarter thing of white powder in your bag, sir? Oh, it's a 1500. I'm a heavy sweater.
Why is it wrapped like a brick, sir?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, anyway.
I thought you were going to take it right to the...
So our next tip is to have a plan of what you're going to do with your pool buoy. Now, obviously, you want to book it its own seat.
Yeah.
So it sits right next to you.
Use your companion fare on the pool buoy.
Exactly. But seriously, though, what we all do is we essentially just either attach it to our bag using its own tether.
Yeah,
just like loop it through, no problem.
The mount situation.
Or if you have enough room in your bag, you put it on your inside. And the inside of your bag, I use a bag where it fits perfectly, like right on the bottom. So I usually just keep it on the inside.
Nice.
And it's not a problem. But yeah, just these things are big. So if you're packing, like I fit everything in this tiny bag, and then it's like, oh, you forgot your pool buoy.
Oh, there's a giant. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just stuff to think about, something to noodle on. And again, this all goes back to creating your checklist and making sure that you're traveling light, but not too light.
Absolutely. Make sure you bring enough underwear to poop your pants at least 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
That's my personal goal.
Yeah, it's like a 2-day trip. You're planning on pooping your pants 5 times.
I need at least 6 pairs of underwear for a 3-day trip.
So here's a little bonus tip that I've been doing for tons of races, and Chipper copied me for the World Champs, and I think he was happy that he did, which I always bring a much smaller kind of like travel backpack, empty, that I throw in my larger bag. So then when you're walking around, you have stuff, you can put your stuff in there. I also use it for your morning clothes or change of attire post-race, which we'll talk about in a second. Because trust us, one thing you really want to think about is after the race, having a change of clothes, a beanie, dry socks and shoes, maybe a dry bag to put all your wet stuff. And speaking from experience, it's not fun to have to sit in your wet kit on a 40-minute ferry ride back from a race. Yeah. Where Chipper's had 2 beers and passed out on you, and you're just sitting there like a weirdo in your swimrun kit.
I was taking a nap. I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired that day. But this is a great tip, and I've started doing this. So, yeah, either you're some little small, very collapsible, even like a tote bag or something that you kind of just throw on top before you zip your bag up. And like we mentioned, when you're walking to race registration, or you're headed to dinner, or you're going to buy souvenirs for the wife and kids, or whatever. There's always stuff to be having around, so it's just more convenient to have another bag. But yeah, Chris, that's definitely a great pro tip there.
Yeah, and like I said, when you're packing, think about what you're going to do immediately after race. I mean, you can get super cold. Some of these swim runs won't have warm showers or saunas you can jump in. So getting out of I like to get out of my wetsuit as soon as possible after the race, and just start getting dry and warming up and stuff. Yep. So it's something to think about. Our last tip is thinking about how you're going to travel back home with all of your wet shit. Because if you're like us and you're not hanging around at these races or these locations too far after the race, you're going to have wet shoes. You're going to have a wet wetsuit for sure. It's probably not going to dry off. Don't throw these things in the dryer. So what we do is we actually bring like a dry bag where we just put all of our wet stuff in, maybe wrap it in a towel or something, and then just lug it back.
Yeah.
But try to keep it segregated so it doesn't mess everything else up.
Yeah,
but yeah,
garbage bag will totally do the job, or something like that. But yeah, we have there's specific bags that keep water out, and also we keep water in. So you can opt for that, and you can definitely get those and compress them, get all the air out so they don't take up too much space, and hopefully not too much smells radiating out of that as well. With some
Here's another bonus tip.
Let's hear it.
As soon as you get home, take your wet stuff out of this dry bag and hang it up immediately, please.
Rinse it out for sure.
Yeah, rinse off your shoes and stuff.
Yeah, but I think that does it.
Yeah. So again, we try to make this non-obvious. Chipper, when we were before we started recording, he was like, "Yeah, what's obvious to us might not be obvious to other people." So we put this out there in the spirit of trying to help folks out. So don't add us if we think we're being too patronizing or whatever. But I think what we really want people to do is get to the race, have everything they need, have the best experience possible, and just thinking through a lot of this stuff. Like, because anything with Swimrun, you can practice it in training. Don't do anything new on race day. Just having a plan for your race strategy, your nutrition strategy, your travel strategy. All these things make for just having a blessed Swimrun experience.
A less stressful experience.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be on the plane. Oh shit, did I pack this? I'm not sure. Oh, I don't need to worry about it because I have a checklist that I just went down and made sure, and you're feeling good about yourself while you're sipping on your 1,500 your preload situation. At least that's what I'm doing with your giant baggie of white powder.
Why do you keep going to the bathroom, sir?
Man.
It's 1,500.
Runny nose.
I guess that's it.
That's it. So if you see us on the plane, high five us, and we'll see you out there. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swimrun.
Check out our website, lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z, for swimrun resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
Just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel too.
Of course, yes.